Can borrow if there's a date, if you didn't charge a radio or whatever and it's dead, then you can. However, I should be sitting here later on. All right. So I'm just here because I don't want to move. Because I translate her, I just stay where I am. Okay, tamam. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I will continue with our book, Jala'ul Afham, Sharah Aqidat al-Awam. Alhamdulillah. And we are into the section on prophets, right? So we are finished on what is compulsory fi haqqillahi ta'ala, and what is compulsory in the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And we are coming into the issue on or what is compulsory for us to believe in with regards to prophets. And we have mentioned that, with regards to our for these classes, that inshallah we will always be bringing in matters of the zaman, right? The issues of the zaman, right? And the waswasa, right, of the zaman. So this class in Aqidah, right? And you have been hearing these classes online, you've been following online, right? Those here, you've been hearing me bring up all of these issues, of the era. And that is how, our teacher, Hayy Abu Bakr Adani, has said that to teach all of these subjects, Aqidah, fiqh, tasawwuf, and so on and so forth, right, for us to teach it in a way whereby we do mention the fitna of the zaman, right, the whisperings of the zaman, what they say about prophets, what are they trying, the attacks against prophets, the attacks on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even with regards to day of judgment, right, there are attacks, right, and there are many, you would say, ideologies, even from Islam. I mean, they come from Islam, then they branch out. They branch out and they go into really, really skewed aqidah. And so, like for example, of them, if because this is what I'm studying right now, with regards to it's called the Nahl, and Nahl meaning religions that they began with Islam originally, then they really branch out and they really deviate from what is the original teachings. So, for example, the Baha'i faith. And the Baha'i faith, if you go into its origin, would be Muslims. And they began doing it, but it has gone so skewed to the point whereby right now they disbelieve in the akhirah, they disbelieve in the judgment, they disbelieve in heaven and hell, right? And then they have now taken their prophet, the Baha'i prophet, right? They call him prophet, and that he has, God inside of him. So now they have mixed up Christianity and they're mixing up Islam and all kinds of things. And then they will take the Quran and they will interpret the Quran however they want to interpret the Quran. And then they will take the words of the Prophet ﷺ, and they will twist his words, right, to show to prove, so-called, that he said that there will be prophets after him. So it's so skewed, so messed up. What they call? The Baha faith, the Baha'i faith, right? And they're not the only one. There are all of them. Even among the Shia, that go really, really to an extreme, in their ideologies, of them saying that the imams that come after Sayyidina Ali and so on, right, they are infallible like prophets, and some of them go to the extent of saying that they have uluhiyah, they have godship inside of them. Right, so they really go to an extreme, right? And then from there, they take the Quranic verses, they make what is haram halal, and they mess up everything, right? So this is why aqidah is very important, right? Because the thing about aqidah is that people come to the religion wanting to be religious, of course, right? You come to religion wanting to be religious. Then they go online, they search for stuff, they want to get more religious, and they find all this nonsense. Literally all of these lies online, then they begin to follow and get confused and know what's going on. That is how they stop people from getting more religious, because it is natural for human beings, as they grow older especially, to want to be more spiritual. It's actually natural. Our roh begins to speak to us and begins to tell us, you need to get more spiritual, be more religious, do more worship. So people, our sincerity, they go online, right? Out of sincerity, mashallah. They go, like you say, out of ignorance as well. But it's just the zaman. It's the zaman, right? The first thing they'll do is, okay, like they'll search Islam, and they always follow whatever they find online and follow it, right? But that's why the enemies of Islam come in right there, right? And confuse the people who are looking for the path, right? And they deviate them on the path, mashallah. Right, so we are on the section on prophets, right? So al-anbiya. So we are on the line وأرسل أنبياء ذوي الفطانة بصدق وتبليغ والأمانة Right? So, and he has sent prophets who are the possessors of intelligence, truthfulness, perfect conveyance, and infallibility, trustworthiness. These are the four traits that are wajib fi haqqil anbiya. Tamam? Right. So the last lesson we went into the words of the verse. Right. So today we're going into the ayat that are mentioned here. Right. For the from this sharah, right, of Jalal Afam. Right. So the ayat about Anbiya, right, about the prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. Right, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran is آمن الرسول. You find it at the end of Surah Baqarah. It is sunnah for us from the way of the Prophet ﷺ to recite this before we sleep every night. And at best, you can recite it in the morning after every prayer. It is one of those verses to be oft recited, right? Verses. And these are the verses whereby it is mentioned that they preserve the iman of a person, right? So if you want your iman to be preserved and the iman of your children to be preserved in this end of times whereby it is a war against iman. It is a war against Iman, right? So teach them, make it a habit. Before they sleep, what should they be reciting? Surah Muluk, Surah Muluk before they sleep. Then the 10 ayat from Surah Kahfi, the first 10, last 10 of Surah Kahfi. This will protect them from a Dajjal. It's all serious matters. They have to do this, right? And this is basically our, it is the Zaman. People go to sleep with what? Their phones. Right, this is a big tragedy. Right? It's a big tragedy if you as an adult, or your children going to bed and it's scrolling mindlessly with their phones. They're gonna sleep without protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their ruh will be disturbed, right? Will be disturbed and they won't get good dreams. You see very messed up dreams. Because why? They're scrolling on their phone the entire time. Right? And it is like my own advice towards all parents that those who have given their kids phones, if you don't give them phones, is the best thing. Don't give them any phone, right? But if let's say you have given them a smartphone, right, that make it a rule that at the azan of Maghrib, all the phones are placed in a locked drawer. At the azan of Maghrib, khalas, right? If you are giving your kids phones, azan of Maghrib, phones in the locked drawer, no communication whatsoever, khalas, until after you pray Fajr, right? Or I would say shuruk, I'll put it as shuruk. Right? If they really have to check whatever, and if anybody texts them in the night, ask for something, and the teachers text them all that, just make it clear to the teachers, in school that I don't allow my children to hold the phone after Maghrib. From Maghrib to Shuruk, they're not allowed to touch the phone. If the teachers have things to say to you, then say to you, not to them. Say to you, right? Say to me as a parent. Put it on the parents group, right? Don't say, disseminate your information on the parents group, right? So of course, the first thing first is that you don't have to give them a phone, don't give them a phone. Right? That's the best thing. There's no phone, right, to distract them. But if there is a phone, then khalas, from Maghrib to Shuruk, right, in the locked drawer, and keep it locked without any excuse, because it is stealing from their iman. It's literally stealing from their iman, from their akhlaq. It's taking things away from them, right? This entire phone culture is so sick, and most of the ma'asiyat, most of the the terrible things people do on phone happens at night, right? Because it is natural for the human being, that in the night the shahawat comes up. Right? It happens in the night, right? So people go into shahawat, they get their desires, and they want to see stuff, they want to watch stuff, whatever happens at night. And especially for women, they get needy at night. We get needy at night. Or we get exhausted lah, mothers. Exhausted. Right? But for those who are not exhausted, they're needy. You get needy at night, right? So the best thing is go into Quran. Go into Quran recitation. So I was mentioning Al-Bazina Muhammad before sleep, Surah Muluk, and then first 10, last 10 of Surah Kahfi, right? And then of course Surah Baqarah. Right, Surah Baqarah, you begin with Alif Lam Mim, 5 verses, the first page Surah Baqarah, then you go into Ayatul Kursi. If you can, go 2 ayats after Ayatul Kursi. All right? La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. So 2 ayats after Ayatul Kursi. right? And then the last three of Surah Baqarah. So not specifically Amana Rasul, but the one before that. Lillahi ma fi samawati ma fi al-ardi wa in tubdu ma fi anfusikum aw tukhfuhu yuhasibukum bihi Allah. Right, that ayat. Okay, that ayat, and then Amana last three of Surah Baqarah, right? And then the two that is in Ali Imran, which is Shahid Allah, right? And Qul Illahumma malikal mulk. Right, so all of this you can find in the Khulasa. Allahumma sayyidina Muhammad. Surah Kahfi is after Surah Kafirun. Surah Kafirun also will protect from disbelief. And Surah Kafirun at night before going to bed. Fatiha. Right, Fatiha before you go to bed. You end off the entire recitation with doing a ratib of Surah Fatiha and read Surah Fatiha, and then you go to bed. Right, and of course, you do the last thing you do say before you sleep is a dua that is given to us by the Prophet ﷺ as to make it the last thing you say before you go to sleep, which is Allahumma inni wajjahtu wajhi ilaik wa fawwadtu amri ilaik. There are a few different narrations of this dua. You can find the khulasa, the last thing, and it said that if whoever says this dua, the last thing before they sleep, if they pass away in their sleep, then they pass away on the religion of fitrah. Right? They pass away on the natural religion, and inshallah, it is paradise for them. Inshallah. So last thing that happens before you sleep is that you recite that last dua. Is all in the khulasa. May Allah reward Habib video on our behalf. He has compiled everything you need to know. Is all in the khulasa. And now David on an app. We have no excuse. You know, when I was when I first came here to Tarim, I used to take pictures, of different pages in the khulasa and save in my phone. Because there's no app, right? And then sometimes, at night, you don't want to get your khulasa, the light is off because you don't want to get up and off the light, so you off everything. So I just need something to see. So I used to take picture of the khulasa and keep the pages in my phone of what I want to recite before I sleep. Now, app, ya Allah. You don't have to do anything. So yeah, and so many, and everything is there. It's all done. It's just a matter of choosing what you're going to tap on your phone. Is it going to be Instagram? Is it going to be Bali? You're going to choose. It's a world apart, right? Instagram or Bali, Instagram or Bali. No, Bali, of course. You click there, right? And then you go on the dua and whatever, mashallah. Right? So this ayat, Allahumma salli wa sallim bari alayhi wa ala alihi, right? The shahada lasting before sleep, yes, but to follow the advice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he said about the last dua, and he said, let that be the last thing you say before you sleep, right? So the words of the Prophet sallallahu take precedence, right? It takes precedence. So I know there are those who say your shahada should be last. You can do your shahada first, but anyway, the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam does encompass the shahada. Amantu bi kitabika alladhi anzalt. وَبِنَبِيِّكَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلْتَ. And you end with that and you sleep, right? That is your shahada. آمَنْتُ بِكِتَابِكَ الَّذِي أَنزَلْتَ. I believe in the book that you have sent down, Ya Allah. وَبِنَبِيِّكَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلْتَ. And the prophet that you have sent, Ya Rab. Right? That is your shahada. Right? That seals your night. Right? And then go to bed. Okay, don't after that, okay, flip back my phone. Please don't. Right? That is one of the things that prevent us from tahajjud. Right, that we are flipping, right, our phones in the night, right? It stops the tahajjud, right? It makes us, it gives us a restless sleep. Restful. Your soul is not rested, because you're flipping through the phones, right? So it is, I would say, it is irresponsibility, of parents, and they will be questioned. I'm very sure about this, right? To allow your child to hold the phone in the night, right? You'll be questioned. They'll be questioning, right, about this matter, and of course, for us who's doing it for ourselves. Right, may Allah wake us up, right? So someone asked the ayat of Surah Baqarah. The ayat of Surah Baqarah at night, in the morning. So after Fajr, you recite the ayats. All these ayats is in the awrat after Fajr, after Asr, right? In the night as well, in the ratibs, is everywhere, basically, after every prayer. In fact, after we pray, I know of our teachers, so Zainab, for example, they have a series of ayat they recite after every prayer. So it's not just Amana Rasul and not just Ayatul Kursi, right? They have like at the end of Surah Tawbah, they will recite, and other parts of the Quran they will recite, right? After every prayer, right? Every prayer they will recite. Right? So mashallah, there's a lot for us to do lah. Question. And me serving you in class, and that's from years ago, 10 years ago, should be back in Singapore. She be the one asking questions. And she just said, nobody else asked me questions, you know. Kind of hala. I would teach. Nobody will pop their hand. No, it's good. It's good. What's your question?
Surah Kafirun. I'm reading Surah Kafirun.
Surah Kafirun. Surah Kafirun, the faedah of reading before you sleep is to prevent shirk. Is to prevent shirk in its openness and in its hiddenness. So open shirk and hidden shirk. So Surah Kafirun, see, that's why you have people who ask questions. It all helps you understand why we do all this stuff. Right? Yeah, now, right? To prevent shirk, right, from creeping into people's hearts. All of this is daruri. We need to do it, right, in this zaman, because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has informed us, right, that the time will come, and we are exactly there. If you've been following the hadith, the 40 hadith of fiqh tahawulat of the end of times, right? Last week, not last week, but the week before, we went through a hadith like this, right, whereby Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spoke about the fitnah to the end of times, and he brought us down to a position, whereby it's our era right now, and he described it as it will come to a time whereby people wake up as believers, to come to the night as disbelievers, or they come to the night as believers, wake up in the morning as disbelievers, right? So that is exactly identified to be our era. That is our zaman. That's exactly our zaman. It's happening right now. The zaman of the ghuta, the zaman of uselessness, of worthlessness. That's exactly our zaman. And so if we are not reciting these verses, then what are we doing, right, with our iman? And how are we protecting our iman if you're not doing all these verses? Now, so Amanah Rasul, actually at the beginning of this book, the ayat Amanah Rasul came out at the beginning of this book, and I gave a full tafsir. If you all remember, I gave a full tafsir of Amanah Rasul at the beginning when we began this book, because the sharah begins with Amanah Rasul. The sharah of the book begins with Amanah Rasul. Right. So I can do a quick tafsir right now, just to jog our memory, inshallah. But I have done the tafsir. There, it's right here. Where is it? No. It is after the mujmala, then it comes into that. The first thing in Jalal Afham is Amanah Rasul. And I went through it in detail. I think I spent like a few weeks on this ayat, in doing tafsir of the ayat. You have a question now.
Please, zaman when we wake up with iman, and by the time we go to sleep, it's without iman. And what's the other way?
Or they go to sleep with iman and wake up without iman.
To sleep, you wake up without.
Nah. Yeah, how come? Because it's scrolling on the internet. They go to bed, they go to the night, and then they're scrolling on the internet, and they're watching all kinds of stuff. Their imans are being stripped from their hearts.
So they didn't sleep yet, lah. Oh, okay, I understand now. Okay, so sleep with iman and wake up without. And then the other way is?
Sleep with iman, wake up without.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Then the other one is sleep without iman and wake up with iman.
No. Right. It's not positive. It's not positive. It's negative. Okay, wake up with iman, go to bed without iman.
Wake up with iman and then go to bed. Oh, okay.
Basically, what Rasulullah is telling us is that the fitna is so severe that it's within 24 hours people lose their iman. That is what he's saying. That is the entire maqsud of the hadith. It's the fitna is so severe in 24 hours. Someone goes from a believer to a disbeliever. They watch something online, someone said it Rasulullah, someone put a video, some murtad out there, put a video about the Quran, put a video about Rasulullah, put all kinds of videos. They watch all this stuff in the night, and one leads to another, the algorithm, right? You click on one video on a murtad, and then you have a string of videos of murtad speaking. Right, to get you out of Islam. You read, and by the end of all, or you don't read, you watch, you watch all this stuff. By the end of 10 videos, your iman's gone. Iman's gone because these people are attacking the iman, right? So it's the algorithm, the whole thing, right? Subhanallah. And sometimes even when you search things that are positive, and you want to search Habib Omar, you want to search, the ulama and so on, they will insert all this stuff. And they will, like it is their game, is their domain. And they're gonna do it. And so they will say, algorithm, yes, but we have in our own experience that you can be searching Habib all the time, and then out of nowhere something lewd appears. What's the algorithm? I never searched this in my life. And it appears. Because why? Fitna. It's fitna. Tamam. So, Amanah Rasul, Allahumma salli wa ala alihi. Right? The messenger believes. So that is the meaning of Amanah Rasul. The messenger, he believes in what was sent down to him from his Lord. And so do the believers. Each one believes in Allah, his angels, his books, his messengers, and they say, we make no distinction between one another of his messengers. And they say, we hear and we obey. And they say, we seek your forgiveness, Ya Allah, and to you is the return. This is at the end of Surah Baqarah. Right? So it is upon him to know that which is necessary in regards to the prophets, and what is impossible and what is conceivable. Okay, so if Amr Rasul, we mentioned before the Asbabun Nuzul, right? That was the ayat before this. Right? The ayat before this, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you show what is inside of you or you hide it, you hasibukum bihillah. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you to account. Right? Allah will hold you to account. Right? So the Sahaba came to Rasulullah on their knees, and they were so frightened by this verse. Ya Rasulullah, on the outward we can control, on the inward we can't control. Like, ask Allah to remove this hukum, whereby Allah will question you on your inward. Because Allah says, if you what you show and what you hide, Allah will question you on this. The Sahaba, they got frightened. Right? They're like, Ya Rasulullah, we can't. Like, we can't handle this. Right? And then Rasulullah said to them, will you say like what the Bani Israel said when the laws were sent to them? And they said, Sami'na wa asayna. And they said, we hear and we disobey. Rather say, Ghufranaka. Sami'na wa ata'na. Ghufranaka Rabbana wa ilaykal masir. This was the words of the Prophet ﷺ. He taught them, say this. Don't ask for laws to be removed. And this is you say a mawaqif or a mawqif of the end of time, the stance. And when things get hard, don't say remove the law. I don't say that change the law, alter the law. Don't say that. But say, Allah forgive us. It means do the best you can. Then say, Allah forgive us. Right? You all were not here for a fiqh tahawala yesterday. They said during my fiqh tahawala lesson online, and someone asked the question about boycott, and it was a very good question. That you want to boycott, but some things is just the Zionists. They have monopolized economy, and it's everywhere. And in some countries, it's really very hard. Like here in Yemen, okay, we have Omani goods, we have Turkish goods, like we have, so we have our own, Yemeni stuff that we go for, right? But you go to the West, even like, Singapore, whatever, and there are industries whereby it is really Zionist dominated, like electronics, cars, these are things about you want to boycott, but how do you boycott? And because they have dominated all of this, is everywhere. Now they were trying to boycott, you realize they're everywhere. They are everywhere. That's how they get so rich. They monopolize the economy. They control the economy. And that makes us scared. It should scare us. Right? Because they are controlling the money of the world. Of course, Allah is above them. Right? So there was a question yesterday on what do we do? Right? We want to boycott to what extent? Then now even things like detergents and things like, okay, alhamdulillah, I say to them, well, in Singapore, go for Malaysian brands lah. Malaysian brands, Indonesian brands. Now you have online Shopee, whatever. They have all of these things that they will tap on other countries, and not the Zionists, you say the companies. But if let's say there are certain things whereby it's really, you are cornered, right? Some electronics, like no one else produces them except the Zionist countries, right? Or the Zionist companies, right? Or maybe sometimes cars, sometimes things happen, or like even when you want to book a trip right now, if you want to go and book online, you want to, buy tickets and whatsoever. These are all these Zionist, they are Zionist companies, they're websites and companies, right? So you don't want to support them. So this is what it is, right? Do the best you can. Right? Do the best you can. Samina wa ta'na, we hear, we know we should stay away from all these things. We know it. And Samina wa ta'na. Then ghufranaka. Ya Allah, it's going to be hard. It is the zaman, it's going to be hard. Right? Rasulullah said that the riba, the dust of riba is going to be everywhere. You want to avoid riba? How? It's everywhere. Paper money in itself is riba. In itself, paper money in itself. Right? But we have no choice. We're cornered. Who wants to use gold and silver right now? Right? You can't. And then you're forced to have a bank account because all transactions are online. Right? You're going to buy and sell, and you're going to do, and people are going to send money to you. It's all digits. You don't even have a choice. No one's going to give you a bag of gold. Right? You put a gold where? Right? So we are in that situation. Here, at least they still use paper money. In Singapore, it's all card. Just tap and pay.
It's worse.
Yes, it's even worse. You see, tap and pay, right? There's nothing substantial there. In an instant, can you imagine? Oh, something happened to the system, everything goes down to zero. You want to do what? Complain. To whom? Seriously, right? So right now, if you really want to preserve money, right, the best way is land. The best way is land. Buy land. If you really want to preserve money or wealth, the best way, but the best way is land. Land here. The Westerners here are like, yeah, buying land. Like, land is wealth. Why is land wealth? Because you can always grow on land. And you can build on land, you can live on land, right? Yes, there are those who will buy gold and silver and they will keep, right? But gold and silver, the value is kept in the gold and silver. You have to sell it to try and get something else, right? You can't eat gold. You get me? Right? But land, you can cultivate land. And so land is actually a more, it makes more sense. It's an asset, land. Right, of course, in Singapore, you can't even buy your own house. You know, you don't buy what land, right? They don't land. Yeah, and when you buy, it's only for 99 years lease. It's not a purchase. It's not a purchase. 99 years, the government takes it back from you. It's not a purchase.
It's not a house.
It's not your house, because in Islam, purchase means it is yours lil abad. It means forever. So it is inherited by your descendants forever. It's yours, entirely yours, right? So let's say when you buy a land here in Tarim, it's yours. Forever is yours. Nobody can take this land away from you, right? Our country, 99 years, they take it back because they want to resell it. Right? That's how they make their money, right? So it's not a purchase. Right? Anyway, this is why you get into that, right? But Allahumma salli wa sallim alayhi wa ala yes, like ghufranaka. So when the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come and you find that it's very, very constricting, especially in this zaman, right, whereby wherever you turn, you can't escape. Right? Especially if you go back to our countries, like you want to stop your kids from the screen, stop them from, from the phone, stop. They go out there, they're gonna meet people. Their own cousins, their own aunties, their own grandmothers, their own grandfathers, their own school, they're gonna find things. Right? You can't cut it. Right? Unless you want to live somewhere in a farm far away, you don't want to have anything to do with civilization. And that is good, if you can do that, subhanallah. But this thing, ghufranaka, do the best you can, then ghufranaka, rabbana wa alaykal masir. Ya Allah, we ask for your forgiveness, and to you is our return. As sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey. So the 4 attributes of prophets that are necessary with regards to prophets, right, what we must believe in. The first one is fatana, right? So fatana, and this is the first of the 4. And we went into them as I was explaining the verse itself. We did go into them, so I'm going through quickly right now. So fatana, it means ودليل على ذلك أنه الفطانة أنه لو انتفت عنه الفطانة لما قدروا أن يقيموا حجة على الخصم وهو محال لأن القرآن دل في مواضع كثيرة على إقامتهم الحجة على الخصم. Right, so fatana, the definition of fatana is perfect intellect. And so prophets necessarily wajib in the right of prophets. We're down. We're not up, we're down. We are page 94. Go down. Page 94. Sorry, the people here. Yes, now. And so perfect intellect. We're there. Okay. Perfect intellect, sharpness of mind, right, in those in the face of argument, in presenting proofs and in refuting the falsehoods of those who claim falsehoods. And this is fatana. The proof for this, okay, so again, he mentioned the definition of fatana, right? So what is fatana? So the proof, in a sense, it is dalil aqli, right? So in aqidah, you have dalil aqli and you have dalil naqli. So dalil aqli is that the mind, right, is the proof to the fact that this attribute is wajib. This attribute is necessary. The mind becomes the proof. So with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I went through of it, right? So for example, Allah being one, it is the proof from the mind, right? The mind cannot conceive there being more than one God, and it cannot conceive there being no God. I cannot conceive. So for example, to just make an example of Dalil Aqli, okay? So by the mind, there has to be only one God. Someone says, what's the proof? Okay, let's consider the case of many gods. Consider, right? That's how you go logically in your thinking for someone with sound mind, right? So okay, consider the case of many gods. In the case of many gods, first and foremost, you're going to say all gods will be at the same level of power, right? Because if one is lesser than the other, then the other one is God, not the one who's lesser, right? Okay, so you see, it's all logical thinking, right? So if you say by definition of God, the all-powerful, the creator, can you say they're gods? So they're all, every one of them is all-powerful. Every one of them are creators. Okay, this hypothetically speaking, okay, let's see. Okay, look at the creation. So now you say, how did the creation come about? So they say, okay, so all the gods created it in one go. How is that possible? Because they are different gods, right? So how did the entire creation come in one go, in one instant, and with the gods agreeing to each other? Not possible. They must have discussed this. Correct. So it's not possible. So they go that way. So they say there are many gods. Either they are working together and agreeing to each other, or they are fighting against each other. There are two possibilities of many gods, right? So they'll say, if they're working together, it's not possible, right? Because then the creation has to be, discussed all the time between the gods. Otherwise, they won't be creating something that both of them agree with at the same time. Makes no sense, right? But we don't see that. It's not possible. So logically, you can't have two doers to one action. You can't have two doers of one action. All right. Or so for example, Allah created the sky blue. Okay, it's blue. Right. So it can't be if there are two gods, right? It can't be that they both agree on blue at the same time. For example, right? It can't be. It must have appeared, then the other one, so okay, blue, okay, I agree. Doesn't make sense. Right? Because that makes the other god irrelevant. Right? So if one does it first, then the other one agrees to it, then he's irrelevant. This is what you call dalil aqli. It's not from the Quran, not from the Hadith, but the mind can refute. The mind can come and refute. Like, not possible, not possible, not possible. Right? If the gods are fighting, then this whole world will not be existing. Right? It will just be destroyed. Right? If one god has the upper hand, then it makes the other god unable. And there is mustahil for a god to be unable. You get it? Yeah. Right? So you see, it is called dalil aqli. Right? So with fatana, same thing with the intellect of the prophets, right? There is aqli, there is naqli. Naqli basically from Quran Hadith. Right? Go to Quran Hadith, the Quran tells you that the prophets, like, they are the best, they are the ones who can argue, they are the ones who can bring a hujjah, the ones who can bring a proof. The Quran tells us that straight out, right? But you can go it from the aql. Right? So from the aql, the proof for this from the aql is that if intelligence was negated for them, and not just any intelligence, the highest intelligence. So if prophets were lesser in their intelligence, right, they will be unable to establish a proof against an opponent. Right? That's the proof there. Because prophets came to bring hujjah. They came to bring proofs, right? So they need to be able to deliver these proofs. If someone's dim-witted, right? If someone's slow, right? If their minds can't, they don't know how to present an argument properly, right? Then the fault falls on the person, not on the proofs. The person can't deliver. They can't, right? This happens a lot in our religion, whereby, like, for example, youngsters come up to you and they ask questions. And you know what is correct, you know what you believe in, but you have no idea how to answer them. Right? And you know that is because of your own lack. And the lack is in you. And that you don't know how to deliver this, how to speak about this, how to, reason this with a youngster. Right? So you're like, I don't know. Ask somebody else. I don't know. And you point somebody else because so that the flaw, so the problem is that people might think there's no answer in Islam. No, there is an answer in Islam that you just don't know it. Right? Or maybe you know it, you don't know how to deliver it. You don't know how to say it. And how to prove. So if somebody asks you, what's the proof of God? Like an atheist come to you, what's the proof of God? You say the creation is the proof of God. And they say, how? It's there. Right? And you say that, right? So so they were like, no, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Explain to me further. And you're stumped. I don't know how to explain further. I believe. Amantu billah. And you go, La ilaha illallah. So the flaw is where? You. The flaw is here, right? Not in the proofs. The proofs are sound. So for prophets, they are carrying the proofs. They are the best to present the proofs. So by the aql, necessarily prophets must have fatana. Necessarily. You can't have dim-witted prophets. You can't have, slow prophets. You can't have prophets that can't think and reason. Not possible, because their role, their job requires high intellect. Their job requires the highest intellect. So may Allah be pleased with all of them, and may Allah's mercy be on all of them. Right. So so the proofs of this, right, is that they have to establish a proof against the opponent, and this is impossible because the Quran. So if they have no intellect, they're unable to bring forward the hujjah, right? And that is mustahil, because the Quran has shown in numerous places. So now he's bringing together proof that is aqli and naqli from the Quran, right? Quran and Hadith. The Quran has shown in numerous places that establishing the proofs against an opponent. So the Quran shows us that the prophets will speak and speak and speak against the people that they are sent to, and they will do it gently. They will say, they will go to Fir'aun and give Fir'aun, examples, and talk to Fir'aun and talk to Namrud and talk to, all of this, the Thamud, the Ad. They will speak to them, and they will make the most logical, reasonings. And they will say to them, to the point that the enemies of Islam, or those who choose to disbelieve, right, they will go into aggression, and they will go into aggression, they will go into violence, right, to get the prophets to stop speaking, because what they're saying makes sense. And that's what happened to Rasulullah, and on many occasions. And why can't they just leave Rasulullah there saying all his, saying what he's saying? Why can't they leave him alone? Because what he's saying makes sense. Right? And they know that when people begin to listen, they will abandon the gods, because what he's saying makes sense. So they want him to shut up and stop talking, because you make sense. Right? That's what it is. Like, people in themselves, if they are saying what is not true, you can straight away tell it's not true. And I was going to I was studying for my exam, the different sects of Islam, and I was seeing, well, maybe if people were to go and see the life of the Baha, or the life of this Imam and so on and whatever, all these different sects, that they might find that maybe these people are credible. Maybe I was thinking to myself, and as I was studying, then you find that their claims make no sense. They go into ridiculous claims, right? Like they make some of this, even Shia sects, whereby they make the mahram halal, and the mahram in the family made halal, right, to marry. They do that. They should do that. Right? They twist it, right? And then and a lot of them end off by saying that they are God. In fact, all of them, they end off doing that.
She asked.
They are of the imams, yeah. Not the imams themselves, but the people will say that these have godship in them. So you can tell from their arguments, it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
But it's for people with knowledge.
Yes.
Without knowledge, they will not.
Yes. And that's why knowledge is compulsory. You need to study, right? And that is why if you don't say to people, right, they're going to go into all this doubt, right? Because they don't have the knowledge of it. Right? So Allah says in the Quran, وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَّشَاءُ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ حَكِيمٌ عَلِيمٌ. So Allah says this is the proof that we gave to Ibrahim. And Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, when we talk about Fatana, Nabi Ibrahim will be the best prophet to study. Because Nabi Ibrahim, he gave very strong proofs, right, to the people around him, and the people got it. They actually got it, right? But they refused it. And they understood his proofs, and they knew he was saying the truth, but they refused him, right? So if you go all the way back, Nabi Ibrahim, the first thing that we know of his story is the story of the idols. And Nabi Ibrahim went to the house of idols, and he broke all the idols, right? And he did that to get them to think, right? Think to themselves. Same story, similar story that happened to Rasulullah about the man, right, in Medina who had an idol that he loved so much. And when Islam came to Medina, and many of the people of Medina came into Islam, right? This man refused. He loved his idol so much, right? So there were some young boys in Medina who saw this guy still stuck on his idol, what's wrong with him. So they would steal his idol. They'll go and steal his idol, throw the idol in the rubbish bin, in where the like feces and junk, they would throw the idol there and run off. Right? So the man will come home, he can't find his idol, get very angry, go and see where this boys threw the idol, get his idol, clean it up, perfume it and put it back on the altar. You know, and the boys kept doing it. They kept coming there, take the idol, throw away, take the idol, throw away, and he kept doing it to the point he was so frustrated. He put his idol there, and it's like, you, right, here is a sword, defend yourself, okay? I can't keep picking you up from the, from the rubbish. Like, defend yourself, okay? I put a sword next to you, okay? Go and hit the boys when they come, okay? Right? And then the next thing you knew, the idol was dumped in the rubbish again. Right? Then it hit him. Why am I worshiping this useless thing? Like, why? Why am I worshiping it? This is what it is. It hit him. And he made repentance and he came into Islam. So the boys, what they were doing is they were trying to show him, your idol is useless. We could pick it up and throw it away, and then throw it in the rubbish and whatsoever. And so Nabi Ibrahim was doing that. And he was trying to show them, your idols are useless. He went out, he destroyed all the idols, but he was smart, mashallah, Nabi Ibrahim, very smart. Like, he left the biggest one there, right? For them to say a word that is against their own selves, right? He didn't just destroy all of them, right? But, mashallah, he didn't destroy all of them, right? But he destroyed all of them except one, the biggest one. Then he hung the axe around the biggest one. Of course, nobody will buy it. He's not trying to trick anybody. He knows, I mean, any logical human being will know that's not the biggest one, right? So he's not trying to lie or trick anyone. No, of course not. He's trying to make them think, use their brains a bit, right? So Nabi Ibrahim, he did that, destroyed all the idols. They knew it was him. He knew they knew it was him. There was no doubt it was him. Like, everybody knew it was him, right? But he wanted them to say a word to make them think. So he left the biggest idol there. Right. So it's all the strategy, mashallah, Nabi Ibrahim. Right? He left the biggest one. You would think this destroy all of them, lah. Destroy all the idols. Why leave the biggest one there? He left the biggest one. Right? It's all very clever ways of argument. Very clever, Nabi Ibrahim. Right. So he went left the biggest one, left the axe there. They came back, they found all the idols are broken. Who did this? Right? No one there was axe on the biggest one. He's the one who did it, lah. Nobody else, no one said that, right? Everyone was like, who did this? Some of them said, سمعنا فتى يقال له Ibrahim. In the Quran, we heard a young boy, a young man. They call him Ibrahim. And he's been talking bad about our idols because he was kind of trying to stop them from the idols. So he's been saying bad stuff about our idols. I'm sure it's him. He didn't come for our fair because they had like a party that was going on. He didn't go for the fair. Call him, Ibrahim. Did you do this to our idols? Obviously, it's him. But he said, Bal, Kabiruhum. Right? Rather, right, it is the greatest one. Kabiruhum, their greatest one. Right? The word Kabiruhum, you say, Nabi Ibrahim lied? No, he didn't lie. Nabi Ibrahim meant Kabiruhum, meaning Allah. Allah is Kabiruhum. Right? The idols, who is over them? Allah. Allah did this. Allah did this. So Allah commanded me to do it. Right? So they understood the big one, the big idol. And they said what he wanted them to say as a hujjah against them. Right? They said, how can it be him? He can't even move. So he got them right where he wanted them. Got them right where he wanted them. Then he responded, then why do you worship them? Why do you worship them? And the story goes, at that point in time, they were at a crossroads. At that point, it hit them. He's right. And they paused. And in the Quran, Allah describes they looked into themselves. Because right now, the truth is in front of their eyes. Al-Haq is in front of them. follow or turn away. Like the man in the surah in Medina, he saw truth, he followed. He saw it. The idol was on. It was in the junk. Was najis. The boys had tied the idol, some dead dog or whatsoever. There was a story about it, and he was like, pathetic. This idol is pathetic. And he saw truth in front of him, and he followed the man in Medina. Right? The people of Nabi Ibrahim, they saw truth in front of them. Why do you worship them? If they can't even move, they can't defend themselves. At that point in time, they chose the way of harriquhu, burn him. He has insulted our gods, burn him. Right? They were right at the point they could embrace the truth. They saw it and they knew it. Right? So the Imam Ibrahim's argument is sound, solid. They could not rebut what he said by why do you worship them? They had no rebuttal, no response. The response was burn him. Right? Go into aggression. Straight away, aggression, violence. Because they can't, they're stumped. They're stumped. And Namrud, same thing also with Nabi Ibrahim. Nabi Ibrahim is Nabi Namrud as well. Namrud, right? With regards to the sun rising from the east and the west and so on. Nabi Namrud was stumped. Again, stumped. They don't know what to say. I bring the sun from the west if you're truly God. Stumped. Kept quiet. Jail him. Same thing. Same thing. Aggression. They can't because the prophets will corner them, right, with their argument. Right? So the proofs that Allah gave Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, right, against his people, and Allah will raise whomsoever He wants in degrees, and Allah is all wise and all knowing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قالوا يا نوح. Now they are attacking Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. قالوا يا نوح قد جادلتنا فأكثرت جدالنا. So here we know there is argumentation. Oh no, you have been arguing with us a lot. Right? It's ongoing argument. Right? And then it's just a very long argument. So what did he say? فَأْتِنَا بِمَا تَعِدُنَا إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Oh, many of them go down this way. They say, oh prophets, you tell us about the hereafter. You tell us about Yawm Qiyamah. You tell us about, about accountability. All this stuff, right? Where? Show us. Okay? Okay? And the prophets will always say the same thing. Allah will show it when Allah wants. And when that day comes, none of you will escape that day. Right? So, but they will be so proud, they're so arrogant, they won't feel any fear whatsoever. So the argument will come to a point whereby they are so stumped, they will say, okay, you know what? We don't want to argue anymore because they can't argue anymore, right? And so therefore, show us what you have been threatening us with. Show us the punishment of God. Show us. Oh, so daring, Ya Allah. Show us. So when Allah unleashes His punishment on them, oh, nobody will be saved except for those who believe. And so Nabi Noah alayhi salam said, wait for it. All the prophets will say, wait for it. Wait for it. Right? In fact, Nabi Noah alayhi salam asked Allah to destroy them. Because Allah had informed Nabi Noah alayhi salam, oh no, that there's no more. After today, those who have believed have already believed, nobody else will come into belief. So when this comes to prophets, when they have this news, they will raise their hands and say, Ya Allah, then destroy them. Destroy them and start the human beings fresh. So all of them were destroyed. All of humanity was destroyed, except those on the boat, or those on the ark with Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, when they were destroyed. So they bring us what you have threatened us with. If you are really truthful, then and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says also to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين. And indeed your Lord, He is most knowing. And so it says, Ya Rasulullah, invite them to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind advice. And only debate with them in the best manner. Meaning only engage in debate if it works. If they're going to listen. Right? And when they're not going to listen, don't bother. Don't bother with the debate. Right? So and Allah will tell Rasulullah over and over again about this. Don't beat yourself up, O Muhammad. Right? When they refuse to hear the proofs. And the prophets will see this. They will give the strongest proofs. People will still refuse. So if this was for prophets, what more us? And you speak to your own family members, the people around you, you bring proofs and you say to them all stuff, they will just reject, right? They will just reject. They don't want to listen. Prophets got that, and they were the best debaters, the most intellectual, and they have perfect character. Right? Their integrity is 100%. Right? They have perfect. For us, you try and advise somebody, they will start to attack your character. Right? They attack the argument and they attack your character. Why am I being attacked? Right? They're like, I know I'm flawed. I'm saying the truth. Right? I'm not saying I'm the perfect human being. Prophets, perfect character, still attacked. And perfect character, subhanallah. Right? So Allah says to Rasulullah, invite to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with wisdom. I come to them with wisdom, Ya Rasulullah, with wisdom and kind advice. Because the matter of religion is the matter of nafs. You calm down hard, people can't accept it. They can't. It's a matter of nafs. Full stop. Okay. So you can say to them all kinds of things. The nafs does not want it. And they don't want it. So they will keep arguing because the nafs doesn't want it. Right? So right now, in enough times we speak against movies, against music, against whatsoever. There are those who argue. Even the boycott thing. What's your proof? What's your proof? Why must you eat it? Right. I mean, you won't die. You will die eating it. Right? But you won't die not eating it. No, what's your proof? Must boycott McDonald's, boycott Starbucks, boycott. Why must you eat it in the first place? What's your proof? The nafs is so strong. The nafs is so strong. That is why the advice here is come to them with wisdom and sincere advice, a beautiful advice. Because the nafs needs reassuring. The nafs needs to be, in a sense, like pampered in some sense. And you call them nicely, but if you go hard on, they reject. Sure, reject. They won't be hearing this. They will not listen. Right. And only argue with what is beautiful. Right. Even in argumentation, don't go ugly. Don't raise your voice. Don't call people names. Right. Don't, insult people's intellect. Don't insult people's character. Don't go down that way. They might do it to you. You don't do it to them. Right. But do what is most beautiful. Right. Indeed, your Lord, he is the one who knows about who will be astray on his path, and he knows of those who are guided. And it is Papa. Right. So inshallah, we will stop there for Papa Haba. We should be coming in. She comes in about 10 minutes, inshallah. Are there any questions? There are questions online. Okay. There's a question here. How do I answer someone that presents to me this question, whereby if there's other religions, how do they know that Allah is the ultimate creator? You told them the Quran is the answer. Okay, basically, when someone says, okay, there are other religions, right? How do you know that Allah is the ultimate creator? Study, if you really want to know. Study the other religions. And I have no fear of people going ahead and studying other religions, because I have done that myself, studying other religions, right? And it just makes your iman so much stronger. Because you see flaw after flaw after flaw after flaw. They have ridiculous one, but really their belief systems make no sense. And go into Islam as deep as you want. You will see a solid wall of iman, of aqidah. Our creed is solid. It's so solid. You can go as deep as you want into Islam. Nothing in Islam, right, will cause for, like, for some religions, right, you go deeper in, you see all kinds of flaws. Islam, you can go as deep as you want, right? So if people ask the question, how do you know Islam is correct and there are other religions? Go and learn. What's stopping you? Right? Like, how do you know if something is true, something is correct? Find out. That's the only way, right? How can I comment on something if I have zero knowledge on it? How can I comment on it? I don't know. And I know, like, if my students, they will ask, what do you say about this book and that book? I will say, if I've not read it, I will say I have not read it. So I can't comment or recommend or not recommend a particular book. I don't know. If you've heard me online, I will say that I have not read this book. I don't know about this book. So I have no recommendation. right? So when I read it, I can tell you about it, right? But now I don't know anything about it. I can't say about it. And that's what it is. You can't comment on something you don't know, right? So how do you know that this are true, is not true? Learn. What's stopping you? If you really want to know, go and learn. Nah. If you don't want to go and learn, keep quiet. And just stay on your belief. Right, mashallah. So there's another question here. Because like to pull up the question, there are those who ask the question, how do you know the Quran is true? Study it. Study it. How do you know something is true? Study it. But don't put in the effort. Then now what? You can't comment on it because you don't want to put in the effort to study it. Then now what? Right, subhanallah. There's a question here, a friend who lamented that my dua falls on deaf ears. Oh, ya Allah. Allah is not deaf. Allah is all hearing. For years, in the same dua and none were answered. All of this goes to tarbiyah. Tarbiyah. We need to teach ourselves how du'as are answered. And in fact, our Prophet has informed us and taught us how du'as are answered. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that dua, so you make a dua, and to understand the point of dua is worship. You must understand, first thing, teach your kids from a young age. The point of dua is not to get what you want. The point of dua is to worship Allah. Dua is a very intimate form of worship whereby you talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. It's a form of worship. So once you change your lens and you see dua not as a free wish, like 3 free wishes, get whatever you want. No, but you see dua as conversation, connection, and bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you're connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you will dua all you want and you don't care if it comes. You just want to dua. You just want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like, to give a parable, of course Allah is above all examples, like human being. If you love someone very much and you want their attention, right? They're not giving you attention, you want their attention. You will call them out. Can you teach me how to work my app? And you're not trying to ask for help. You just want attention. Right? You know how to do it, but you just want the attention, right? Something like that. Right? Allah is above all examples. So you meaning dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you want him to hear your voice. Like, the Haba comes, hey Faiza, Haba, I have a question. And Haba, they ask your question. Actually, no question, but I just want to talk to Haba. I want her to see me, look at me. So, Su'al. You make up a su'al because you wanted to look at you, right? Because you want to get her attention. So you ask, I have a question, some question. Are you doing that? Asking random questions, getting my attention.
I ask because I have a question.
I know. So for us with dua, that's what it is. You're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to get close to him. Right? What will happen has been decreed. It has been decreed. Right? So like for me personally, when something comes my way and I wanted this thing, but I did not do the dua for it, I feel lost. I actually feel lost. Like, should have done the tahajjud for this, Like, like should have done the yasins for this, should have done the sadaqah for this. And then it came. Like it just, alhamdulillah, it came. But I didn't do any effort, before this thing came. You don't want it to be served up to you like that without the effort. You missed out on the dua part. And you missed out on the dua part.
Dua is that you are making du'as.
Yeah. The point of dua is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is worship. Right? That's the first thing. Dua is not a free wish. Don't view dua as free wishes. It's not, we're not in that kind of, genie in a lamp kind of thing. No, right? Right. It's dua, it's tadarru, it's ubudiyah, it's slavehood. Dua is slavehood. You can understand that. And again, if you go into the words of Rasulullah, du'as are answered however Allah wants, because Allah is God, you are slave. So du'as are never on deaf ears. Allah is not deaf. Allah is as-sami'. Allah is all hearing. Du'as are answered, you're given whatever you want. First way. Second way, Allah deflects from you a calamity. Right? So first way is you're given whatever you ask for. So for example, you ask, get married. Okay, you got married. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Right? Or did not get married. Allah left you that way, unmarried. But Allah opened up for you other avenues Or Allah knows that if you got married, there will be a calamity. There'll be abuse, there'll be methods, there'll be a calamity. He blocked it. So he deferred, he blocked it. You're like, Ya Allah, I already want to get married to this person. Allah stopped it. There's a calamity there. Right? And Allah knows. And He will give you something better. Or Allah keeps the dua on a day of judgment. It comes out for you. It will manifest on the day of judgment. And to the point whereby Haba will say that, a person will come on the day of judgment and they will see these mountains of gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will ask, Ya Allah, what are these? And it will be said to him, these are your unanswered du'as in the dunya, manifested for you on the day of judgment. And the person will say, Ya Allah, if only none of my du'as were answered in the dunya. None of my du'as. Because do you see the gifts? Yawmul Qiyamah. If you ask something in this dunya, you really want something in this dunya, you want a job, the job comes to you, you die, the job goes away. Right? Correct. So ask for high things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So mashallah, the answer, but as he is quite a set answer here. Someone said that my dua falls on deaf ears, her friend. So I've been making dua for many years, none were answered. Again, tarbiyah. It's all tarbiyah from a very young age. Teach your children this. How do we approach dua? Imam al-Haddad teaches us. قَدْ كَفَانِي عَنِ الْمُرَاوِ مِنْ سُؤَالِي وَاخْتِيَارِي. My Lord's knowledge has sufficed me from asking and from choosing. فَالدُّعَاءِ وَابْتِهَارِ شَاهِدُنِّي بِافْتِقَارِي. And my dua and my crying out in the night is just a witness to me on my impoverishment to Allah. I am impoverished. I am a beggar. So my dua here is to show I am worthless. I am nothing. I'm a beggar. It's ubudiyah, to show that you are an abd. You are slaves, right? And for this secret of me realizing my slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I make my du'as. Not for a dua. I want to be a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I make this dua. Ya Rab, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, every night, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. أدعو في يساري وعساري, like in ease and difficulty, because God is one. Whether you have ease or difficulty, God is one. Right? So dua is continuous regardless. Right? And so this person, she channeled her frustration to metal music instead of making dua. Ya Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give grant guidance. Another question, advice. Why do you so many questions? You lah, all the questions. Everybody has a question, mashallah. Barakallah. What advice do you have for someone who has anxiety and overthinking? My advice to you is to recite Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Right? Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Or this Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil 70 times, and bring to your heart the meaning of this. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. What does it mean? Allah is enough for us, and He is enough. He is the best of those whom I entrust my matters to. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. 70 times in the morning, in the night. Right? Hasbunallah wa ni'mal. It's enough khulasa anyway. Right? So if you have anxiety, you need to place in your heart, right? Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is handling the matter. Right? Don't overthink. Allah will handle. What will happen will happen. You cannot change it. The decree cannot be changed. The decree is a decree. Right? So Allah is enough. Allah is enough. Allah is enough. I entrust my matter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other du'as, ufawidu amri ila Allah, inna Allah basir bil ibad. I entrust my matter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah sees His servants. I would advise you on that. And I would say, don't just say all this dhikr without thinking about them. Think about them. Right? Understand what you mean when you say hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Understand the statement. Right? And it will, inshallah, it will remove from your heart. And fight the waswasa. It is waswasa. Fight it. So shaitan makes you anxious. Shaitan makes you overthink. Right? You fight it. And say, you know what? I have Allah ma'i, Allah ma'i, Allah ma'i, Allah ma'i. Allah is with me. Allahu hadiri, Allahu shahidi, Allah qaribun minni. Allah is with me. Why am I feeling all these things? You're a human being. You are ajiz. You are incapable. You're a human being. Allahu al-qadir. He's the one who's all powerful. Right? So you need to have this in yourself. Right? Subhanallah. So this is my advice to you. Barakallahu fikum, wait for Haba to come. Should be here soon. Yes, you all need to go as I'll come in. Now, it's more people becoming.
Your channel.
Now,
Your channel.
my channel 88.1 FM.
So
The
for
trans
Zafarna will be translating for Baba Insurance. It will be on 88.1 FM. This is the radio.
anyone any more radios there? There is there. If anyone
Yeah, I
needs
can put it
radio.
on side, eh?